Sugar, spice, and everything nice. That's what good stories are made of. Or maybe I'm thinking of something else. So if that's not the equation for narrative success, what is it that makes a story good? And who's qualified to tell that story? So every one of us has consumed hundreds, if not thousands, of stories throughout our lives. Maybe our parents or other loved ones told us stories as children of dragons and their princesses, or toys who came to life, or wild and fantastic adventures full of treasure and swashbuckling. I personally couldn't tell you how many movies and shows I've seen throughout the years, each with its own unique narrative. In today's media-centric world, stories surround us on all sides, each pushing to make its voice heard and become the next best story ever told. Story isn't just confined to words in a book or images on a TV screen either. So you can tell a story through music and lyrics or through the visual arts like painting or sculpting. Even languages themselves have stories hidden in the very fibers of their makeup. School essays tell stories, and even business reports have a narrative structure to them, even if it isn't the most exciting beginning, middle, or end. The news tells us stories daily of real-life happenings all around the world. But what are some of the aspects that make up good stories? Like I said earlier, we're surrounded on all sides by things claiming to be the best, but how do we know if they're telling the truth? If we break it down to the basic nuts and bolts, what makes a story tick? And how do you take it from that base into something beyond? I'm going to share with you about just a few aspects that I believe help to elevate a story from basic to good or even great. So I'm going to start off by saying something that I've said in my past videos. We are all created to create. Therefore, the narratives that we tell reflect real life, even in the most fantastical settings and unassuming mediums, because we were creatively created by a creator to create like him. So that being said, again, I'm going to share with you about just a few of the aspects that I believe help to elevate a story from basic to good or even great. There is a core to be found in every good story. It is the essence which brings a story to life. Every story, whether good or bad, has an internal creative truth to it. But the stories that find themselves rising above the masses are the ones that not only know what their core is, but lean into it. Just like we as humans operate from the core of who we are, stories can only function in their highest capacity when moving from that core. For example, an essay, the core is your thesis. A novel's core is found in the characters and worlds that the author creates and how they function together towards a common goal. The core in a song is found in the message that it conveys to its listeners. So another key aspect of a good story is its ability to land with its intended audience. Let's look at the concept of a children's book. It isn't actually considered good if, say, only adults like it and kids want nothing to do with it. The author's intended audience of children has to like the story intended for them in order for the story to be received as a good story. Otherwise, it's missed the mark. Now, there are outliers to this, such as the fan favorite, cult classics, not well received in its time, but loved by the masses sometime down the road, and not always by the intended audience. But again, those are the fringe hypotheticals and not guaranteed to always be well received. A story should always endeavor to evoke emotion, suspend disbelief, encourage participation, and challenge a reaction from its intended audience in order to find itself in the good category. Now, a side note on the topic of the audience. When creating a story in whatever chosen medium you prefer, you have to ensure that you trust your audience and that they know that you trust them. They are smart, just like you, and they understand the basic building blocks of what a story is because, again, the formula for story is built into our DNA. You can't insult them by being ridiculous in your narrative structuring or by over-explaining things that they already understand by their own deductive reasoning. Story is about trust between the author and audience, just like life is about trust between Creator God and his human creations. Just think, nobody likes a detective story where the author doesn't think their audience is smart enough to figure it out, so they ruin the shock and awe factor by over-explaining or giving things away too easily. When you trust your audience to understand and think for themselves, you give them the power to make your story better than if you maintained all of the control yourself. Good stories, just like the humans that create them, breathe. There's a flow, ebbing, raging, still. Sometimes breath stops for a moment. Sometimes it's rapid and uncontrollable. But breath is what gives life to the body, as story gives life to the imagination. And just like it mimics breathing, they also reflect life in other ways too. We'll talk about story formula in just a second, but I want to just say that the formulas that we use are themselves cycles, just like life. You have creation, life, death, childhood, adolescence, adulthood, beginning, middle, end, verse, chorus, bridge, intro, body, conclusion. So good story mirrors life in a way that's easier to digest than the real world can be sometimes. Now, piggybacking off of that, good stories not only mirror life, but they have the ability to take you to another place, a realm of new ideas free from judgment and the monotony of everyday life. They provide you a lens through which you are able to view life differently than you could maybe otherwise. Good stories don't remind you of life in a way that makes you feel stuck. Rather, they give you hope of something different. There's a sort of magic to good stories and the places they take you, out of yourself and into a world of new possibilities. Okay, now to formula. Good stories, with the exception of those fringe few, follow a formula of some kind or another. Following a formula, contrary to popular belief, is not a negative thing. In fact, I'd say that any successful screenwriter, novelist, songwriter, journalist, college student, or scientific researcher could probably give you at least one formula that they have used to ensure the success of their story. They're natural for us because, like I said, formulas are like cycles that flow in the same way that our own lives do. We understand them, and that is a key element to a good story. Its ability to be understood. You don't have to use the same formula as everyone else. You can find what works best for you, and in some cases, it might change from story to story depending on the needs of your narrative. But don't be afraid of them because the lines that a formula draws are not there to keep your creativity boxed in, but as a guide for you to follow and make your own. Only you can tell the story that's within you. Which brings me to my last note on story, which is that every one of us has a story to tell. Good stories come from human understanding, follows an understood structure, and brings about a resolution, whether good or bad, satisfying or completely unhinged. Without story, we wouldn't be human. What makes them good isn't about how big they are, if they're a bestseller or a blockbuster, but rather about the core creative truth in them. The stories told by a mother trying to get her children to sleep have just as much potential to be amazing as the biggest names in Hollywood or the publishing industry today. Story isn't a right for some or a privilege for the few. It's intrinsic in all of us. And we are robbing ourselves of a deeper understanding of our own creative vision by hiding stories away from the world. Now remember, I'm not an expert on story, and the things I've listed in this video are just some of the many aspects that make up what I've seen to be good stories. There are probably things that I've missed or things that I see being part of the equation for success that others might not, and that's okay. That's the beauty of creativity and individual thoughts and opinions. The one thing that I do know is that everyone has a story to tell. What makes that story good depends on its core, which is aided by formula and grown further when there's room for it to breathe and flow naturally. Good stories reflect real life and are accepted by their intended audience, while at the same time taking you away from reality to a place of new possibilities. We all have story within us because of the God who created us. So, what's your story? What's your core? The thing that only you can share with the world. There are countless mediums through which you can tell your tale. So once you find your own creative vision to share, whether on a large scale or a small one, remember to go, create, and be a blessing. You can support our channel by subscribing, hitting that bell icon to get notified when new content comes out, and liking our videos. If you'd like to consider supporting our team financially, there's a link in the video description with more details. Those things will help our channel for sure, but if you do nothing else, please spend some time in the comments of our videos encouraging one another to create, to help others create, and to help grow that creative nature within us all. Oh, and you can check out these videos too. Thanks. We'll see you again soon.